Hi, and welcome to Awaken the Authentic You, how to create a life of passion, purpose, and prosperity, even if you think it's too late. My name's Matt Schaefer, and I'm a coach and speaker that created this summit to share with you valuable tools and strategies you can use to create a more fun, authentic, and abundant life, as well as inspirational stories of people that have overcome massive obstacles to achieve massive success in their life. And we're so excited to have on the show today Ali Mezey. Did I say it right? Did I get it?
You did.
Yes. All right, Ali, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and guys, Ali has a really interesting vocation. She's a body therapist and a somatic educator. And what that basically means, from my understanding, is it helps us get into a greater authentic relationship and connection with our bodies. So I think she's going to have a lot of really interesting insights to share with us. So Ali, thank you again for stopping by and sharing your time with us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I want to jump right in because I'm sure you got a lot to do. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the role that passion and purpose has played in your life. Like, how did you end up in such a unique, remarkable career?
So I've always been really passionate about the body since I was really young. I started as a dancer since I was 4. I also started with injuries just about the same age, and I've had multiple injuries. And that's always kept my body kind of honest in a lot of ways, having to constantly keep checking in with how can it move, how can I deal with injuries and still keep a fluidity, still keep a freedom in my body. And it's always just been my path. That's always been clear to me, even when I veered off of it seemingly to do other careers. The body has stayed with me as a constant challenge that I've had to both deal with and also delight in. So it is both a passion and also just a necessity of, well, all of our lives, since we all have in our bodies, but how to actually navigate them and be with them in a way that not just enriches our lives, but helps us really express what we want to in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think so often that goes unnoticed by people. We focus so much on our relationships with our family and our friends and our coworkers and everybody else external to us. We forget about our relationship with our own body, which is, I mean, so crucial. And we tend to, I think, put it on the back burner, right? Like, who cares about our health? You know, what's more important is making money or doing this, that, and the other, or being there for our families. And we continue to sacrifice our own relationship with our body. And then that causes some huge price tags down the road, doesn't it?
For sure. And I just want to add that it's not even just about, like, a lot of people are really good at exercising. So that's not even what I'm talking about. You know, there's plenty of people who are experts in that field. And, you know, I'm really talking about what is the body trying to tell us constantly, and how is it trying to guide us for our better, you know, our higher good? Because I know for sure, because of what I do, I also do something called family constellation work and some other methods that are predicated on one being able to feel the body in great detail, and by which we can tap into and express huge amounts of information and helpful truth.
Yeah.
That's what particularly interests me about the body, is how can I give it credence? How can I listen to it? How can I find its language so that it can actually support my path?
Absolutely. And I understand exactly what you're saying, how the body can be a conduit and like a communication portal for amounts of energy and for guidance that this can never
Exactly.
pick up, right? It's like an antenna, and it's getting frequencies from a higher place. And do you feel that in your own journey, that all those times you got injured was your body and really your higher self communicating with you to, hey, it's time to shift back to what my actual purpose is? Was that like your body communicating that?
You know, it's a great question. And I think that each injury was at a different time in my life, in relationship often to a different person. Like, sometimes it happened in contact, like in dance or something, where, you know, but I think ultimately, does every injury come because we're not paying attention to something? Perhaps. I wouldn't make a blanket.
Yeah, you can't make a blanket statement.
But what I do know is that each injury, and that's not necessarily just from a physical impact, that can be from a trauma as well, is an opportunity to learn an opportunity to get guidance in terms of, how is it best to maybe veer around something or someone, or
Yeah.
do I need to rest, or do I need to try a different activity, or do I need a whole other vocation, which,
Yeah, exactly. What feedback and what is it teaching you? Because I mean, I
yeah.
know in my own life, this strikes very near and dear to my heart because I've had several crazy injuries where I blew out my ears when I was 18
Oh,
and
wow.
developed a hearing thing where I can't be around loud music. And then the blessing of that is, I wasn't able to go to nightclubs. I basically, it saved me from myself in my college.
What a great example. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
like 2 years later, I was like, on a bunch of stimulants and whatever. And I chewed a bunch of pens and pencils and stuff until I destroyed the muscles in my masseter muscles in my jaw. And I
Uh-huh.
couldn't talk for a year. For a year, I couldn't talk for
Wow.
5 seconds.
Wow.
If you can
See,
believe that.
I can believe it. And what's amazing is as you're so beautifully saying, is there are gifts to all of this. And
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
can immediately think, oh, that's my bad shoulder, or, uh, blame the body for what it's seemingly limiting us from doing. When
Mhm.
really as you just said, there's so many gifts in what happened. Even
Yeah.
if it's just learning to have to be that much more quiet. Like I'm dealing with an injury right now from
Hmm.
overuse, but it's not just from overuse. And what I wanted to say too is it's always fascinating to look at what else is going on or was going on in your life. What were the circumstances? Like, for example, one of the things that I see over and over is a lot of people have broken tailbones and don't even know about it.
Wow.
And have chiropractors who never told them about it. And it's really quite phenomenal.
Hmm.
But the tailbone is the seat of our being. It is the seat of our spinal fluid. It's our sexual power. It's our connection to the earth.
Huge.
It's
Yeah.
huge. It's a huge source of our power and our being and our,
Mm.
I would say, authenticity, to be connected. And of course, we have so many things in our culture that try to keep us as disconnected from our pelvises as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Puritanical culture. Yeah.
it's exactly. So it's so interesting to see when you ask somebody, when did that happen? When did you break your tailbone, for example, and the effect that had. And almost, when I ask people, there was too much magnetism, or too much sexual energy, or too much unwanted attention going on in the life around that time, because it can really shut down some of that intensity and power. So that's just a very quick example too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's a
How
huge
much
thing.
there is to.
Yeah, there's an infinity of stuff, and we're definitely going to dig into that. And I know at least in the
Yeah.
situation of my jaw thing, it created the space for me to really think about and reflect on my life, and that's when I decided to go to law school. And that's
Ah,
what ended up with me being a lawyer, which is the reason that I came out here to do a restaurant. It's like it created a domino effect in my life,
yeah.
pushed me on an entirely different
I
trajectory.
love it. I love it. Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really resonate with this topic, and I'd love for you to share with us maybe a couple things that you see coming up again and again with clients as far as their relationship with their bodies that keeps them from achieving like their passion and their purpose. Like, what are people doing in relation to their bodies that's keeping them from really tuning in and listening and hearing those lessons that you talk
So
about?
I'm going to talk about perhaps a more extreme population, just to illustrate what you're asking. So I also do family constellation work with addicts, both
Mm,
with drug addicts and sex addicts, or what people call drug and sex addicts, which that's a whole other topic. But
yeah.
um, one of the things I see over and over is a tremendous disconnection from the body, which means even people who are having sex all over the place oftentimes are completely disconnected from their bodies, which seems
Mm,
counterintuitive. Um, and,
fascinating.
and a lot of that is due to trauma. And also, which a lot of people can relate to perhaps even more readily, not wanting to feel emotion. Because from a very early age, we can tend to, if we didn't learn how to, or didn't experience being regulated by our caretakers, intense emotion gets increasingly frightening to experience. Because when you're a little baby, when they start to freak out and cry, if somebody isn't there to help contain their nervous system, they
Mm,
just get overwhelmed. So we can learn from a very early age also, and because of cultural issues, to reject emotion and be terrified of it. And one of the best ways to not feel is to disconnect from the body.
I
So,
see.
and the more you disconnect from your body, the more you also disconnect from your power and your guidance and your magnetism and your ability to connect. Like you and I, the more I'm staying, even while I'm talking to you, I can feel my pelvis. I can feel that I'm sitting on this chair. I'm using that to help me stay calm in a situation that could be stressful, to be speaking with you, to be presenting my deep self to the world. That can
Yeah.
be very easy to start talking up here, and I can start talking to you like this, and my forehead can go up and my voice can go up and
Yep.
everything can leave up here.
Yeah.
And most people don't tend to stay more dropped in their bodies. And
Yeah.
so it can really have an effect in your career. For example, if you go to an interview to get a job, and if you're up here like this and you're talking really fast and everything, you're not breathing and your voice is up
Yeah.
here, it's really off-putting.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't allow somebody to come closer and get to see you and feel you and know who you are. Yeah.
It's not authentic. It's not
It's not
authentic.
authentic.
It's your
No.
head space, which your head is fundamentally your ego, whereas your body is your heart space. It's that deeper identity that we all have. And yeah, you like what you're saying, like through sex or drugs, like people find ways to escape because they either don't know who that person is or they hate that person. Like they have like a bad relationship with themselves emotionally for whatever reason, and I have used both of those at various points in my life. I have been a drug addict, and I maybe not have been a sex addict, but I have abused sex as a way of escaping. When I was at my lowest terms of my own self-worth were times when I was the most sexually active. It's like, because it just becomes like an easy out. It's like an easy way to just check out and not have to deal with the misery of your life, right?
Yeah, and get affirmation, at least for a part of you.
Yeah. It's that cheap, easy gratification, it's just such a self-destructive practice. And so I totally see how this is a pattern that I'm sure you have to coach a lot of people through in your work. And so say we've got some people here that are interested in listening to their bodies at a deeper level and really connecting with that authentic part of themselves in a profound way. What are a good first couple actionable steps that people can take to make that jump, and start listening at a deeper level and building that relationship that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna, as my gift, and I would rather leave it to that, is just, I'm gonna actually describe, I'm gonna offer a video where I'll take whoever is listening and watching through a journey to just feel, and it's some really simple stuff, it's really basic. And, even if you and I are talking, or I'm in a situation where I'm starting to get uncomfortable, just putting your hand on your belly, it can be as simple as that, though I'll go into several of these things just to remind your body that you're there, you're with it, you are it, and that you're safe, because so much of what is challenging as beings, as physical beings, is constantly contending with, are we safe in any given moment? So I'm going to be guiding some things with that. But there's something else I would bring into this conversation, is the issue of hidden loyalties, which is a whole other component of what it is to find our authentic expression in the world. Because oftentimes we have these unconscious entanglements with people in our family system, or a person in our family system, that keeps us from actually being able to live out our own authentic path.
That's so interesting. Yeah, the whole concept of family lineage, I think you talked a little bit about it being part of our DNA. Like it gets into, it's like at our frequency vibrational level, do you feel that we carry these vibrations and these DNA sequences that actually impact our behavior from our past generations? Is that what you're talking about?
So it works in different ways, most of which are a mystery, actually. But the field of epigenetics is now really delving into this, and they're finding proof that, in fact, we don't even just pass on our genetic material that dictates what our eye color or our health propensities are going to be, but that we actually pass on unresolved trauma.
That's so
So
fascinating. So you help
it's really
people work
fascinating.
what they identify, you help people identify and work through that trauma and those
Yes,
patterns through family constellation work. How does that even work?
exactly. Through the body, which is what's so
Mm,
fantastic. So it's all connected so that the body is not just a physical, a manifestation of our own personal histories. It's also a direct expression of our whole family lineage. It has all of it is recorded in this amazing thing, being
mm,
that we are. So it's all connected. And as you were saying, we are antenna, and not just from to the external world, but we're also have all this amazing information within us that
mm,
that is usually overlooked because we're viewed as just being a biological vehicle, basically.
mm,
That's that. So family constellation works with um, the body's relationship to externalizing our internal relationships. So
mm,
constellation work is about the geometry of relationship and being able to externalize it through um, setting up relationships between other people who are representing different aspects of a dynamic, an internal
mm,
dynamic. Or you can use colored mats, or you can use objects. But as soon as you place things outside and start working with this spatial relationship, which is one of the um, profound languages of the body, all kinds of information,
mm,
sensation, and emotion starts to reveal itself. And you start to see what is my proximity to certain people or things that are actually blocking my relationship to my career, or my vocation, or my passion. So it's a huge topic, and there's
yeah.
a lot of that
A whole second
about
interview.
that. Yeah, it's for sure, and there's a lot of that on my website.
Mm.
Um, but where it's particularly relevant here, and I can add a video that to the gift that
I
gives
was going to
people.
ask if you could put
Yeah,
something about
there
family
is.
constellations as you put
Yeah,
it in the
I
chat.
would love to, because I actually I can walk people through an experience of placing a paper that actually says self, a paper that says, career, one that says obstacles, and talk through like, how do you get an external experience and the insight of where are you in relationship to your career? Where are you? Are you living it authentically, or is there something that's blocking that path? And oftentimes it's some sort of entanglement, like, I can't do better than my father did. I can't make more money than my father did. That's a super common one that is
Mm.
often unconscious, that people don't realize, because they think, oh, well, my dad was always so hard on me to succeed, succeed, succeed. But then underlying that, there can be this forbidden, this almost taboo blockage, that's
Mm.
very blocking, So,
I love this stuff. This is so interesting to me because I spend so much of my time in the coaching that I do. I mean, helping people work through their energy that they've picked up and their beliefs that they've picked up from their families, and everybody thinks they associate it just with their immediate relatives, and they don't realize that, these patterns could have been created 3 or 4 generations ago.
exactly.
Over those years, they've just become
Yeah,
more and more distilled, more and more ingrained. They just over time get more and more and more deeply imprinted in us. And until we become aware of them and actually physically, and it's physiological, like when people tap into this stuff, like I've had people throw up.
oh
I've had
yeah,
people
it's full on.
physically like go through, and their bodies look different when they release that energy.
Yeah.
I know I look totally different than I did a year ago when I started doing this work and I started
Mm.
releasing and crying it out, like
Yes,
it's
yes.
remarkable how our physical bodies are really a recording device, right? They're a storage device of like all this information and all these emotions and feelings from
And
hundreds of years.
a super dynamic one that is exquisitely attuned to change. So
Yeah.
that even like in a family constellation where someone is expressing all of that for you, so that you're not the one who's, catharting something or experiencing something, but they're doing it on your behalf, which is an amazing thing in itself. Even
Mm.
that can change your physiology. Just to have that acknowledged, and that what
Yeah.
a lot of people call morphic resonance, for example, which
Mm.
our bodies, as you mentioned at the beginning, are constantly resonating or not with the people that we're interacting with.
It's so fascinating. It really is. And
Yeah.
the way we're always, the way I describe relationships when I'm coaching people through relationships is that it's always an energetic exchange. Like whether or not you're conscious of that,
Yes.
everybody is both a receiver and emitter of energy constantly. And so whenever you're dealing with somebody, you're transferring energy to them. And there's a dynamic between you, and you want to make sure that you're only in relationships where energetically everybody is nourishing. Both parties are nourishing each other, because sometimes people can just become energetic vacuums and just
For sure. For
suck your
sure.
energy away and distort you. And you got to be conscious of that. Those toxic relationships can really damage your life and your trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think it's really important, for example, when people are with each other, particularly if there's a mentor of mine, Philip Shepard, who I highly recommend everybody check out, talks a lot about presentation mode rather than being present.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's apparent on, presentation mode is very, again, really up here. And,
Yeah.
I need to look a certain way. And, yes, I wanted to have my hair done to talk to you today. So, that's part of presenting ourselves as professionals. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm also coming with a very deep experience of having spent a bunch of the morning crying because my mother is in the process of passing,
Oh,
and
sorry.
and and I'm only mentioning it because that is part of what is authentically happening for me.
Mm.
That is
Yeah.
part of who I am, and it's therefore part of when I come to be with you or a client. I'm bringing all of me, as you're bringing, what you're going through with moving,
Oh
and
God.
the exhaustion from that,
Yeah.
and not pretending otherwise, that there's a big enough space in ourselves and between us that we can bring that with us, and have
Hmm.
that, whether it's spoken about or not, it's still being um, experienced or acknowledged in our just appreciation of it,
It
of what our,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
And really resonate, and people really resonate with that. Like you will have much
Mhm.
deeper connections with other humans in all areas of your life if you
Mhm.
just say, I'm in pain. This is why,
Yeah.
and not like you're trying to give it to them, but
Oh,
you're not hiding it either, because people
right.
can tell when you're hiding it, and they don't know what you're hiding, but they can tell that you're
Yep.
not showing up authentically. Like people can energetically
Yep.
pick up on that.
Totally.
And then they're like, you know what? I don't know what it is about that person, but I'm not buying it, like, and then they just
Yeah, totally.
connect with you. They're going to mirror you. So if they see you hiding, they're going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to do that too. And that's how we create
Exactly.
an entire culture where people are pretending to be something that they're not, because
Yep.
everyone's afraid to show their shadows to the world. And it's like, if we just all did that and just cried about it. I mean, I embrace crying. If I wake up and I feel like I
Yeah.
cry, I'm like, let's go, let's do this. And
Oh, I love that.
I'll listen to some friggin', like some sad music, and I'll get myself going. I'll just cry for 20 minutes,
Wow.
and
That's
I'll
so
love it.
that's so fantastic. That's so unusual though,
Yeah.
really. I mean, particularly for men, I must say.
Yeah, well, I've done emotional intelligence work, and I just
Uh-huh.
realized, as I started working through all of my stuff, all my issues, I identified that every time I cried and I had that catharsis, and it's like you release a layer of that toxic energy, and you just feel so cleansed on the
Yep.
other side of it.
Yep.
Now it's like the more I can cry and the longer I can cry, the better. Like I'm gonna ride it as long as I can. It's a strange thing, but
Oh, no, it's
I
beautiful. It is.
advocate for that.
So it's beautiful. It really touches me.
Yeah.
Also because, back to what I was saying about working with drug addiction, for example, is that it's often viewed that they're the screwed up ones, when really a lot of them are the ones who are willing, or getting willing anyway, when they're in recovery, to feel a lot of that stuff that's not even just theirs.
Oh yeah.
Like they tend to be the most sensitive ones in the system,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
family system, who were feeling so much of the family system that they just had to just, like,
You got to
you
check
know
out. You've
we'll
taken
check it
on
out.
so much of that other energy that
Yeah.
you're not comfortable in your own skin anymore, and you're
Yeah.
just trying to escape from it. Yeah, I think a lot of like really high functioning, highly intelligent, highly sensitive people get drawn into those sort of addictions, because like,
Yes.
yeah, they absorb too much, and then it's
They're
like
very empathic,
they
almost
go into
every
overload. I
one of
think
them.
that's me. I mean,
Yep.
when I was a criminal defense attorney, if you can believe that, and I was going to jail and talking to
Yeah.
murderers, rapists,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would be physically sick, and they would be nice. Like the people weren't mean to me for the
Yes.
most part, but
Yes.
just the energy of being in their space and being
Yes.
surrounded, being in a state prison
Yeah.
is not a fun place to,
Yes.
and if you're an empath, because you leave and you're like physically ill from absorbing that toxic stuff,
So here's the thing that's bringing up another beautiful aspect of somatic intelligence too, is that the more you can feel something like that and notice it and recognize it, that it isn't you, which a lot of people can't, by the way. A
Mm,
lot of people don't know what you've learned, which is they're like, oh, that is not me. And it might be that just by going in such an extreme environment, you got all the more attuned to when things aren't you. It can be a lot harder when you're with somebody who, for example, you live with and you're enmeshed all the time, like, oh, that bit of irritation or anger or sadness isn't even mine. But
yeah.
so much of the key to being able to have being a sensitive soul and body that is in the world is to, the more we're able to feel our bodies, the more we're able to feel that's mine, that's not mine. Just by feeling it, it shifts so that you can feel that glob of darkness that just permeated your system when you were in a prison, for example,
Yeah.
and really recognize it and watch it, literally watch and feel it dissipate just by attending to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the awareness of it, the
Yeah.
awareness of this darkness and of our shadows disempowers them from controlling us, I feel like, because we identified that they're not us. Like once you become the
Yes.
watcher and you become the observer and you're looking at the thing, that's how you recognize that you're not the thing. So even if it's still there, it's not you. And so even if it makes you feel a certain way, you no longer identify with it as like, this is who I am. You're like,
Yes.
oh, this is just this weird globby thing that, is around me,
Yeah.
but it's not who I am fundamentally. And that's been my thing, because I still have stuff,
Yeah.
obviously, like
Oh,
every
of
day,
course. We
but
all
it
do.
doesn't
Yeah.
control, I don't identify it as me anymore, so
Yeah.
it doesn't dictate the way I perceive myself and the way I act in the world.
So I'm just going to make one little tweak about what you reflected, which is that what I'm talking about is a little different than what's really common. And I don't know lots about Buddhism, but I know that there's in meditation, there's a common thing about sort of observing, sort of disconnecting and observing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of, and you might have meant this, but I just really want to clarify this because it's less spoken about, is to actually be, rather than pulling away out of the body to witness something from somewhere a little bit more distant, to really stay in the feeling of it with what you're talking about too, with a sense of it's 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 like, I don't know if it's disidentifying or just having awareness of being both and,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I
that's what I
mean.
thought. But I wanted to just clarify that for people who are listening, because oftentimes people can think that, for example, meditating or witnessing is a dissociation, its own kind of dissociation from the body. So just want
No, lean into it. Lean into that pain and feel it and really get to the depths of it, I think is the most, because yeah, like that's where you really get to understand it and learn to love it. And once you love it and you can learn to just accept it,
yeah.
it no longer becomes like a damaging thing, and it'll go. Like once you learn to love these parts of yourself and embrace them and know them and
Or
understand them.
recognize that they're not even parts of yourself, but just be in the
Yeah,
experience and
be in the
let it wash
experience
through,
of
like you
them.
were describing. Yep.
Then it's
Yep.
like they're like, okay, now I can go,
Ooh, yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and that's like the dream. And I'm still cutting through layers as an
Mm.
onion, you just continue that process, but
Yeah.
really the important thing is just taking those first steps. And like you said, I'm assuming our free gift is going to help people embark on that journey, which is really exciting. And
Yes.
I'd love for you to share a little bit about like what mindset or strategy or philosophy you've used in your own journey that's helped you stay tapped into your passion and purpose. So it's like, what's like the one thing that you think
So,
the audience could benefit from?
I'm going to just mention three things in that, because some of them are very practical, and some of this stuff can sound like I'm not practical, when actually I work very hard and I'm
Yeah.
as strategic as I can be as well.
Mm.
Um, so one thing I think is really important to mention is having skill, like really being good at what you do.
Mm.
I think that is something that it's just irreplaceable, obviously. So I wanted to just speak to that.
Mm.
Um, Having strategic alliances has been huge in my
Mm, okay.
career development, which is a whole other topic. Like, what do I really have to offer? To whom do I really want to offer it? Who can afford what I want to offer?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows those people? What can I give to their clients that they need their clients to also benefit from?
Mm.
And to have symbiotic relationships has been a huge part. And
Mm.
then also, family constellation work has been a huge part of my growth as well, to really identify what are the obstacles, what are those sabotaging patterns that I've worked and worked and worked on. And, that's another huge thing, as well as following guidance. It's huge, not just my own body guidance, but a bigger guidance. That has been, the more I stay connected to myself, the more I am up to date with what I am actually authentically experiencing, the more I'm attuned to what is best for me. And sometimes the guidance has in my life and what my career paths have meandered in the weirdest ways. And they've been frightening. And there's been, of course, many times where I've thought, oh my God, I may have taken a totally wrong turn, or this may never monetize. But I think staying in a guidance in a sense that we're not just these alone contained physical forms, that these are actually, that we're
Mm.
actually connected to so much more
Yeah, I love it. I
than
love it.
this
So it's
too.
interesting how it's simultaneously getting into your body and then realizing that your wisdom and the
Yes.
totality of what you are is so much more than
Yes.
just your body, and really viewing your body as the antenna for
Yeah.
a collective conscious
Absolutely. Yep.
knowledge that's greater
Yep.
than anything that our feeble human minds could ever comprehend,
Yeah.
right?
It's the divine paradox.
Yeah, it really is.
The more you
But
go
it's
in, the more,
cool.
yeah.
It's so cool because it's like, it's not even like a matter of faith, like you don't have to believe it because it's an actual experience. It's a physiological thing. And once I think you make the connection and you make the correlation between our feelings and our body and the divine intelligence that's always trying to talk to us,
Yes.
like you realize that you don't need to like believe that there's a guy with a beard in a cloud, like telling you things. Like there's such a more profound,
Yes.
pervasive energy at work in our universe, that like is always communicating with us through our body. And if we just listen to it and get super present, like we can dance the dance, like the cosmic dance of life on such a higher level, and what's more authentic than that, right? Like nothing.
You're great, Matt.
I may have gotten a little out there with that,
No,
but
I love it. It's really beautiful.
well, it's like, cause this is the part of me
Yeah.
that like, I don't get to talk about it as much, like a lot of
Yeah.
people get very like nuts and bolts and stuff. And I
Yeah.
love nuts and bolts, but I also like, cause I really see the universe and I see like humanity, like there's this music playing, right? And there's music playing and it's got a beat, and people, whether they're hearing it or not, everybody's dancing. Like there's like a constant dance going on of people flowing into and out of each other's lives. And people don't even recognize, except for like a small percentage of us, like some people can hear the music, but most people are just dancing and they have no idea why. Like,
Mm.
but everybody's in a dance, but you can dance so much better when you recognize the music.
Mm.
You move to it like consciously. And I think that's what living consciously is all about, is like
Mm.
hearing the beat and being able to move in synchrony with it rather than just kind of like unconsciously staggering through our life experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's super cool stuff, and I really love all that, and I'm sure we've inspired a lot of people just with this so far. And I'd also love for you to share a little bit around what's a piece of advice or guidance you hear going around in the coaching community or the metaphysical community or anything that you feel is like totally not something that people should follow. Like,
Oh, not something.
yeah, something that's wrong,
Yeah.
inaccurate, or that
Oh
will
boy.
disconnect you from your body
I
or
was thinking
whatever.
about that. I think it's not going out on limbs.
Hmm. Staying safe, like the
I know
practical advice.
the biggest, weirdest limbs that I've gone on, two in particular in my life, where I ended up, when I had almost no money, getting on a plane and going somewhere just because I felt like I had to, because I was going through such a difficult time, for
Hmm.
example, and I wasn't sure, I was lost. and depressed or something like that. And I, just went where I was deeply drawn.
Mm.
And it, both times I particularly, two times in particular, one went to France and one I went to Brazil, and they both completely changed my career for the next many, many years because I got on that plane and followed that. So I
Cool.
think the bad advice would be don't ever take those literal flights of fancy that seem ridiculous or crazy, which has to be distinguished between just doing something reckless and ridiculous,
Oh yeah.
but but I think that, because I definitely had people in my life going, what are you doing, but it turned out that,
It's the best thing you ever did for yourself.
I was hearing the call. Yeah.
Hearing the call and then like hearing it and then acting on it, like
Yeah.
trusting yourself enough and trusting the universe and trusting your intuition
Yeah.
to be able to say, like, no matter what happens as a result of this crazy risk, like
Yeah.
it will be serving me. Like if I fail, it will be serving me. There is no such thing as
Yeah. And
like,
being with
whatever
the
it is.
terror of it too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think things have so many shades of gray and all of that too. Like, oh, there's great stuff and but it's all ultimately, when I was thinking about my purpose and my career and my passion, it's inextricably related to ultimately what I'm doing here, what I don't know if other people are doing or not, which is to become increasingly authentic. That's what
Yeah.
all of this stuff is. What the work that I do is inextricably not just related, it is my process of getting more authentic. And the more authentic I'm becoming, I mean, shoot, I'm in a profession that's on a cutting edge, that's
Yeah.
about the body that's been, deemed evil or sinful or irrelevant or mechanical for millennia.
Mm.
And basically coming and saying, hey man, this is where it's at, this is the key to
Mm-hmm.
self empowerment and purpose and God connectedness and all kinds of groovy stuff.
Yeah. 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 No, it
So,
is. Next
authenticity,
level.
I love your topic, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to weigh in on my experience of what authenticity even is. And
Yeah, and
for
it
me,
resonates with me very
yeah.
deeply, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Maybe people who hadn't thought about authenticity as being like your communication with your body and your body's communication from a higher space.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, my only reason I'm here is because I started listening to my intuition, and it came from within my body. It didn't come from my mind, And so it's like once you do that, it creates like a domino effect, like a momentum starts to take hold, because the more you listen to your body and the more you listen to your intuition, the easier it gets, right? It's like a muscle. The more reps you put in on it, like the more proficient you get at using it
Mm.
as a tool and as a system. So I encourage everybody to get out there and really start dialing in and listening to the
Or
free
get
gift.
in here.
Yeah. Get in here, get out there in you,
Yeah.
the inverse of all that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
along that, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your free gift and what that is and how that's going to serve the audience.
Okay, so I'll definitely put up a video I've already made about a process that you can do that's based in constellation work. That's really to get an externalized experience of what your internal relationship is to your career, your purpose, basically. So it sounds like that would be relevant and helpful to your folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And the other one is going to be about, an example of a little body journey that you can take to just help kind of demystify that, because it could sound like really, this isn't incensey and ohmy and complicated. It's
Yeah.
can be just a really basic process that can get increasingly intricate as you explore it. So that's what I plan on sharing. And there's a lot more information, by the way, on my website too, which is just alimezey.com, that will explain a lot of these things, because a lot of them are really cutting edge. And I think that could also be really helpful to
Yeah.
people.
I mean, I know I'm gonna check it out. I mean,
Oh, good.
authentically, yeah, like I'm fascinated by this stuff, and being perfectly authentic. Like I have not looked at your stuff. Like you were a very last minute addition
Yeah.
at the end of the summit. You're officially interview number 40. You're the last
Yay.
samurai. So congratulations
Yeah.
on being the
I'm
last
glad. I'm honored.
interview of a summit that was supposed to be 21 interviews, and
Wow.
somehow it ended up being 40. And my life has changed completely just from the process of doing
Yeah.
it. So thank you for being a beautiful sort of end
No,
cap on a crazy process for me that I know is
pleasure.
just beginning.
Yeah, thank you. And congratulations. As I think I mentioned to you on the phone, yeah, it feels like it's a whole new opening for you. And I'm excited to watch
Yeah.
what becomes of you, what happens next.
What will become of me? I know. Yeah. Well, I'll ask my body,
Yeah.
and maybe it can give me some, maybe it
Yeah.
can give
There
me
you go. There you
some
go.
answers.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time,
My
Allie. I
huge
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. And audience, thank you guys for stopping by and for
Yeah.
showing up on this last cosmic interview. I'm so glad we ended on a cosmic note. That was what I wanted. So this other episode of Awaken the Authentic You. I hope
Yeah.
you guys have a wonderful day and you listen to your bodies and you take Allie up on her free gift. And I'm not going to say check your inbox for more emails because this is officially the last interview of the last day. So guess what, guys? This is it. No more emails of new interviews. There will be more exciting things to come, though. So keep checking your inbox for different things coming from us. And have an authentic day. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.